New Mexico at the NM Startup Forum. We are thrilled to have you here as we showcase the top 10 startups in New Mexico. These companies have worked so hard to reach this stage, and today they will present to you their groundbreaking ideas, as well as presenting them to our esteemed panel of judges. The winner of today's competition will advance to the Startup World Cup in San Francisco, where they will compete for a $1 million prize. The winner's travel expenses, airfare, and hotel for one person to attend the grand finale will be covered, courtesy of NMSU's Hunt Center for Entrepreneurship. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to introduce Cole Grant, investor at Pegasus Tech Ventures and ambassador, who will give the opening speech for the pitch competition. Cole.
Thanks, Garrett, for introducing me and Startup World Cup. And I just want to take a second to welcome you all to Startup World Cup Albuquerque. Startup World Cup is the largest startup pitch competition in the entire world, held across countless regions. And today we have the pleasure to witness 10 of the best startups in Albuquerque, or in New Mexico, competes to go to San Francisco. So I myself am an investor at Pegasus Tech Ventures and an ambassador for the Startup World Cup. And I'm here to welcome you all to the Albuquerque Startup World Cup Regional. First off, I want to say a special thank you to the Arrowhead Center at New Mexico State University. Without them, this event would not be possible. So just a quick round of applause for the Arrowhead Center. I also want to say a special thank you to Natera. Natera is our global gold sponsor for the year. They're helping us bring the Startup World Cup to countless regions all over the globe. So thank you to Natera as well. So first, I want to talk a little bit about Pegasus Tech Ventures. As I mentioned, we are the founder and organizer of the Startup World Cup. We are a venture capital firm based in San Jose, founded in 2011. We function as a strategic, innovative outlet for global corporations all over the world, managing 40 different funds for different global corporations and investing on their behalf on over 260 startups to date. And that number is ever expanding every year. We invest in startups such as DoorDash, Airbnb, SpaceX, and countless other impactful startups. And that portfolio is continuously growing to beyond $2 billion in assets under management. So as I mentioned, we are organizing the Startup World Cup this year. It is the largest startup pitch competition in this current cycle. We're expecting over 10,000 applications across 75 countries of startups, with over 50,000 attendees across over 100 regional events. You can look it up on Google or ask ChatGPT. It is definitely the biggest startup event in the entire world. And as Garrett mentioned, the startups are competing for a $1 million grand prize at the grand finale. However, we want to highlight that Startup World Cup is more than just the investment prize as well, which brings me to our mission statement. So first and foremost, we want to foster innovation, the discovery, innovation, and visionary products that impact to better the world. We want to promote the spirit of entrepreneurship and celebrate entrepreneurs. We want to give a place for startups to network with potential customers, talent, or investors to be able to build and grow together. And then we want to have a place for media for startups to get presented locally and globally different media platforms. So this is all taking place all over the entire world, from India to Vietnam, from Georgia to Bangladesh, and Boston, all the way to Albuquerque. Here we are today. So this all culminates into the grand finale. Over 100 plus startups from all the regionals come together in San Francisco to compete for the $1 million grand prize. This is a really great event. We'll be having over 20 great, amazing speakers with over 200 investors and corporate executives present for networking and to evaluate the startups. And there'll be over 3,000 attendees from all walks of the world, including tech, media, angel investors, venture capitalists, and just tons of other great individuals who were present at the event. So as I mentioned, this is taking place in San Francisco on October 2nd to October 4th at the Hilton Union Square. October 2nd will be the semifinal, where we will see the 100+ startups all doing quick pitches, so we can help whittle that number down to just around 10-20 at the grand finale. On October 3rd, we will then be hosting workshops for these startups to hone their pitches and give them the best chance to winning on October 4th, when we are hosting the grand finale. We will be capping that off with an announcement of the winner of the $1 million prize, and also a great networking event at the very end to end the cycle. So these are some of the past speakers we've had. Every year, we've had a great class of speakers come in. For example, we've had Steve Wozniak be a repeat speaker, the co-founder of Apple. We've had Mark Randolph, the founder of Netflix, Reid Hoffman, Vinod Khosla. The list goes on. It's really a great list of speakers every single year. There's just so much to learn each time. We also host a great panel of judges, venture capitalists, accelerators, incubators, and other investment firms, such as Jeff Ralston, the president of Y Combinator, Tim Draper, the founder of DFJ, and tons of other great investors from top firms all over Silicon Valley, such as NEA, Khosla Ventures, Kleiner Perkins, and just so many other great venture capitalists. So this is a brief history on the Startup World Cup. It's been around for, we've had 5 cycles. Our inaugural season was in 2017, where Unifa, a Japanese company, took home the title. And then following up in 2018, Luco Labs from the United States won. And then in 2019, Avibin from Vietnam was the champion. Then after a couple years off, SRTX from Canada took home the crown. And then just last year, another Japanese company known as Alis was the winner. So we'll see who the winner is this year in just under a month, perhaps a startup from Albuquerque. And of course, all of the regional winners get a chance to meet the various partners and other venture capitalists at Pegasus Tech Ventures, and that includes Bill Reichert. He's one of our managing partners at Pegasus Tech Ventures, as well as the chief evangelist at the Startup World Cup. Bill Reichert is a great Silicon Valley veteran. He's founded and exited 2 startups, and since then, he's gone on to become a venture capitalist for over 20 years. He's learned so much and has so much knowledge to give to all these startups and other venture capitalists. You can feel free to check out his book, Getting to Wow, on Amazon. There's a lot of great information. So please go check that out. So this is a quick breakdown of how things will be functioning today for the Albuquerque Regional. We'll have 5 minutes for pitches, followed up with 3 minutes for questions and answers. The judges will then score each startup, and at the very end, the winner is announced. So before we commence, I just want to say a special thank you to all the judges today. That includes Beto, Alice, Kai, Sarah, and Consuelo. So thank you guys for taking the time today to support and evaluate these startups. So now I want to show a little grand finale trailer to get you all excited for the grand finale in San Francisco in under a month.
Get the customer signed up versus then.
What are margins on $1 million of revenue?
That years to change them.
Startup. Don't get caught up in titles. Or experience.
Energy was amazing. The speakers was amazing.
He does like math will be in there, I'm filming.
As you can see, it's definitely a exciting event, and I hope to see all of you there. You're all invited. It's definitely something you don't want to miss. And now on to the Albuquerque Regional. So best of luck to all the startups today, and let's enjoy some pitches. Thank you.
Thank you again so much, Cole. Now, let's go ahead and meet our judges. We are just thrilled to have 5 incredible judges with us today, each bringing a wealth of expertise in investing in early stage startups. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Beto Payeras, General Partner at Aldaz Capital. We have Consuelo Valverde, Founder and Managing Partner at Endurance 28. We have Alice Brooks, Partner at Khosla Ventures. Then we have Sarah Salachi, Founder and Managing Director at Margin for Mission. And finally, we have Kai Chen, Managing Director at Ocean IQ Capital. Really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Now, I know we've made brief mention of the rules. Let's go over them in detail. Each company is going to have 5 minutes to present their pitch, followed by 3 minutes of Q&A with our judges. I've seen it, a clock exists. Keep an eye on it. Awesome. After all of the pitches are complete, our judges will deliberate and rank the companies, selecting the winner, who will be announced during the reception at the New Mexico Angels quarterly event following this event in this room right now. So with that, let's get started. Please welcome our first company, Apivera, ready to share their innovation in agriculture and bee colony health. Carlos, please join me on stage.
Okay, first, everybody can hear me okay? I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you, especially for getting the energy out coming back from a break. So I thought I was going to have that on my hands. Thank you to everybody for being here. So my name is Carlos Perea. I'm a seasoned entrepreneur. I've scaled and exited companies before. And Apivera is a product and a brand underneath Terravera. And both names are worth exploring for just a second. Terravera, we started really to make agriculture more sustainable by unlocking a lot of value for the farmer, making it more profitable, but also more sustainable. Along the way, we found that we had a product fit for the bee market, and we created Apivera. So I'm here to talk to you about saving the bees. So even if you don't vote for us, I hope you root for us, because this is a really important issue. So we talked about Apivera and protecting the future of food security. So we all know the bees, we've all heard this, are dying at an alarming rate. And without bees, we fundamentally don't have food security, or at least affordable food. To put it in other terms, we all like our produce, we like our apples. Apples, as an example, 90% of all the apples in the US are grown, rely on commercial beekeepers to pollinate. But without that equation, everything you buy in the produce section, for the most part, goes up astronomically in price if it's even available. So really important issue. So what is happening? Bees are dying off at an alarming rate. And there's fundamentally 3 reasons for this: climate and habitat, pesticide use, and unfortunately, a parasitic mite called the Varroa destructor. And it sounds intimidating, and it should be, because it's devastating colonies all over the world, and here in the United States. Our mission simply is to reverse this trend, help these beekeepers, and really change the equation for keeping commercial bees, or hobbyist bees for that matter, by the technology that has been proven to kill the pests, not just varroa mites, but other diseases and pests that are ravaging these hives, with something that is very effective, but it's also extremely safe. It's safe for the bees, it's safe for the beekeeper, and it's completely biodegradable, meaning it's safe for the environment. So it's not enough to be effective, it's not enough to be safe, it has to be cost effective. And in that realm, we shine. So is this a big market? Not the downstream from all of the effects of food. Excuse me, put the timer. So all the effects of food we talked about, but the market size for commercial bees is huge. It's in the multi-billions. If we just get out of the macro into the where are we trying to address in Apivera, we're really focused with the folks that are keeping commercial hives here in the US. We think this is about $1.5 billion market, and plenty of opportunity to grow beyond this. So we have a very large addressable market with a very strong pain point. So the issue with what's happening today is the pesticides and the miticides and all of these things are combining to not only ravage the colonies, but also the existing solutions are not working. What happens today if you have a commercial hive is you run the risk of losing half your hives each year to these mites. Or the treatments that you're using, you're increasing the dosage because you're losing efficacy due to the resistance of these chemicals. We're overusing them, the mites are becoming resilient, and the solutions are not very good and alternative. So this is why now it's because the solutions that we have today are not working. I spent a lot of time with commercial beekeepers and the researchers, and I've never seen a market pull like it. They implored us to come into the space once they saw the results that we were getting. So where are we at in the cycle? We've done enough research in the field that we know that this works. We know we're safe for the bees. We know we're killing the mites. We've actually started getting early adopters and beta customers. We're in the process of signing up distribution relationships. In the business model piece, you should understand is we actually have a razor blade model. The one implication of our chemistry that's different than everybody else is it wants to degrade very quickly. The way we get around that is we generate the chemistry on site, on demand. So that gives us a razor blade model. So what have we been doing? We've been treating hives, both in research fashion and on the field. We've been getting feedback from the commercial beekeepers, and we've been partnering with experts in the field. One quick thing is to know is the commercial beekeeping, these folks often keep 20,000 hives, 50,000 hives. Each customer is worth a lot of annual recurring revenue to us. And it doesn't take many customers for us to ramp up to these 30, 40, $50 million rates. We've got an experienced team. We've scaled and sold companies before. We've raised capital. We've taken companies from 0 revenue to 150 million. But most importantly, we recognize what we don't have. We have now an expert in Jeff Pettis, one of the world's well-regarded experts in colonies and bee health. And he has joined us as part of our advisory team. Last slide, we're in the process of closing out a convertible note. We've had a very good reception for not only this note, but we have a very strong set of institutional and angel investors behind us already. So with that, I will take questions for 2.5 minutes.
Thanks for the question. So how exactly are you applying? Is it a spray that you're applying, or what is the actual application? And then is it patentable? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, the chemistries themselves are not necessarily patentable because they're inspired by nature, but we have patents in the generation of the chemistry. So our know-how is really in how to generate this chemistry on demand, on site, in a cost-effective way with food-grade inert ingredients that revert back. So it's a very couple-week window while the chemistry is active or until it dries. So it could be minutes or hours. The way we apply it is we started spraying and now we're fogging. And by doing that, this was based on the commercial beekeeper segment. This needs to be very quick. We don't want to spend 2 or 10 minutes taking apart a hive and spraying. So with the fog, we can put it on top of the hive, and within a minute, we've saturated the whole hive with the chemistry.
Okay, maybe a quick follow-up then. What efficacy have you shown?
We're actually better than the best products on the market today, 95+% kill rate of the mites. And there's a lot of complexity to how we measure, but we take pre and post measurements on what's called mite drop. But we're seeing stuff that is better than the biologicals that are being used today that are getting phased out.
Hi, thanks for presenting. Two questions. First one is, on one of your slides, you had a statement that said you improved cognitive function.
Yes.
For who?
For the bees. So believe it or not, there's research that bees want these amino acids that they're typically getting from the flowers and other plants that they're going to get nectar and pollinating. And we are using some of those amino acids in our chemistry, and that's what they're reverting back to, are amino acids that are needed to help bee cognition, so the ability to forage. And I will tell you, I'm not a bee expert, but it's fascinating to learn just how intelligent these creatures are. But yes, we are learning that we're not only taking away a negative in the mites and some other pathogens, we're leaving behind a beneficial supplement to the bees.
And last question for me, talk a little bit more of your razor blade model.
So again, the chemistry itself is inherently unstable. So the only way for us to sell it is to generate it on site. So think a coffee maker and a bean. We've reduced the cost of the equipment, so that's really not an impediment. And our model is really about getting people to do subscription models for the consumable, but they can't use the consumable without the equipment.
One question, what could, cause your company to fail and how would you mitigate that?
Great question. I think, you always have technology risks. I think we've worked through most of that. It's really about application. I think the biggest issue that I worry about as a platform play is we're not trying to play in too many places at once. And so there's a lot of discipline around. We know we have application, for example, in viticulture with wine grapes with powdered mildew. We've had success in indoor ag. We've focused the company in this. And so I think the biggest threat that I see in any platform play in ours included is distraction. So we're razor focused on saving bees right now. Thank you guys for the questions, and thank you all.
Thank you again, Carlos. I appreciate it. And sticking to time. Thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and welcome our next company, Pixel 8, to share their latest innovations. Please join me in welcoming Monica to the stage. Good to see you again.
Hi, good afternoon. It's an absolute honor to be here. Thank you for everyone, all the organizers, the judges. I'm losing my voice, so excuse me. My name is Dr. Monica Villalpando. I am the co-founder and CEO of Pixel 8 Powders. We are revolutionizing how consumer packaged goods products are made by introducing a multifunctional ingredient that saves money, is gentler on our planet, and healthier for your body. So for those of you in the room that were here earlier, you can't answer this question, but I'm going to kick it off with this. What do powdered instant mashed potatoes, fizzy drinks, gum, and crackers have in common, besides something you eat? They both contain these two ingredients, maltodextrin and silica. Now, maltodextrin is used as a flavor carrier. So think of liquid flavors that you need to put in powders, and that's using a very outdated technology that is costly, bad for our environment, and inefficient. It's also terrible for your body. Silica, on the other hand, has a lot of natural benefits. It's a mineral that you find in vegetables. For the production side, it's actually used in small amounts to prevent clumping of powders. So what we're looking at is silica and not maximizing its full potential. And that's where infused silica comes into play. Infused silica is based off of my PhD research in pharmaceutical sciences, where I used it to enhance drug delivery. I spent the greater part of maybe 8 years now of my career adapting it to consumer packaged good products, where I've screened and scaled up this process to a wide range of applications. Here is our first customer. They're working with a natural essence, which is notoriously unstable, short shelf life. We're actually extending that by locking in that flavor inside our silica. Because we can produce in a more streamlined fashion, extending the shelf life, reducing the amount of powder that you need, we save money. We also, which is the key thing, provide a much richer flavor because the maltodextrin approach uses solvents, heat, and water, and it strips out a lot of those top notes. We don't do that. We capture it all. And then we're clean label. Actually, the supplement industry is growing in its awareness of silica because it's a mineral that actually helps your body ingest calcium, or absorb calcium and vitamin D. So how we work, we first source all the necessary ingredients. In this case, actually to piggyback, we have honey here because it's hard to handle during manufacture. It's sticky stuff. This is the IP play where we're working on our process from oil to powder conversion. And we sell a flowable and bakeable, and that's special, a bakeable ingredient that actually can preserve the flavor. I showed you one example of a customer. Our other customer, we're doing some first of a kind flavor effects I'm excited to launch. And then also, especially another way, piggyback on that, we are saving the production loss from actives like honey from sticky bees. So thus maximizing their benefit in efforts to give us this tasty stuff. So we're now starting in the food sector, but I have identified areas through my R&D where we can hit all of these different market segments. I know this because I'm a 20-year product formulator, and I have focused the last 10 years on commercialization internationally across all different types of product forms. We're starting with food because the market is huge, and the awareness and the need for healthier ingredients and the demand is only growing. With that, we're launching both in US and Europe simultaneously, and with that, with the customer base that we have, we're confident we can hit 200 for the sum amount of 90 million. Most importantly, this is not just me. I have been fortunate to travel the world. I've lived in 5 countries and worked in these countries, and I've formulated products across 4 different industries. So you can imagine that all the types of characters I've met along the way. And so these guys were handpicked to join my team for their quality of work. They absolutely stood out, and their integrity. For this, we are raising $5 million for 2 years of operation, really to focus on building and protecting our IP and launching into global scale and mass markets. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice job.
Thank you.
So because silica has been used in the pharmaceutical industry, can you say more about the IP and what you're able to protect? And then a second question after that.
Yeah, right now, because it's a very versatile ingredient, it's been a bit of a blessing and a curse too as we're developing. So in the food space, it hasn't been applied. It's an so as my PhD research is an emerging new drug delivery. So if you were out of the niche formulation space in pharma, you wouldn't know about this technology back then. And it's been growing. And so now it's found its way in pharmaceutical pipelines, but not yet in a marketed product. And so that was, for that reason, I decided to go into food, other CPG, and not pharma because it's definitely unknown to the cosmetic industry, for example.
So given your experience, you've got the strong background, you see the applicability for your competitors.
In the food space, it's the people that use the maltodextrin. So it's a process called spray drying. As the name says, it's solvent-based. So those companies that produce these maltodextrin-based spray dried powders are those. But if you were going into beauty, it would be another technology producer like a liposome, for example.
And how do you compare in cost to maltodextrin, and what are the other parameters that customers are judging you on?
Yeah, so it's really not a apples to apples comparison, but we are 1.5 times more. So we're more expensive. But keep in mind, If you purchase a malto powder, you only have 20% of flavor and 80% of something that's crappy for you. Versus for us, it's a 50-50 flavor carrier, so that's less you have to buy. And also, because we can actually, we're infusing it, we're locking in whatever active we're working with. So we're preserving the shelf life, we're making things more like I said with the bee example, less waste, because it's like, sorry, the honey example, it's less waste, it's less sticky stuff. So there's there's savings all along the supply chain.
Does your silica alter the flavor at all? Is it better like for certain food products or?
No, that's the whole key, is that we want to just capture the native flavor. And I have samples here to show everyone, but the maltodextrin flavor, because the way it's processed, the heat, it'll drive off those top notes of those small molecules. And versus we don't use heat, solvent, or water, so it really just drives in the native flavor and locks it and protects it. And the other thing I didn't really emphasize enough is that we can control the release rate of flavor. And so, for example, the other customer, we're going to do like for chewing gum, 10 minutes of blueberry and then 10 minutes of strawberry. So we're adding some unique applications there.
And do you see your company launching other products, or how do you see your company, 10 years from now?
Yeah, absolutely. Always thinking kind of ahead. And so we're starting off with food. It's important to stay focused and get traction there. But the IP, our first use of funds is going to be really the IP stake. And with that, I'm looking at strategy of what other markets can we fit? Because again, the common phrase is, where's the puck going, right? And I would say the next one would be beauty, because right now the trends are using these technologies with natural products. So that's right now is in high demand.
That's all the time we have for questions. Wonderful, thank you. Right. Well, it's time to introduce our next company, Materion AI. They're here to showcase the unique approach to detecting misinformation on social media platforms. So please join me in welcoming Zeke to the stage.
When I was 9 years old, our family was subject to a stalker because my father was mayor of Albuquerque and being in the public eye. This stalker harassed our family by calling our home phone between the hours of 9 p.m. until 5 a.m., going to different payphones across Albuquerque to not get caught. We'd have a cop stationed outside of our home to ensure our safety. Eventually, he was found. Why did this happen? He was radicalized due to misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. That story happened 22 years ago, and this same story has been playing out over and over and over again with increasing frequency. Whether it be the failed kidnapping plot against Governor Whitmer, the attempted coup in Brazil on January 8th, or right here in New Mexico, where a candidate lost their election, claimed it was rigged, and hired hitmen to shoot up politicians' homes. Why is this happening with increasing frequency? There has been an explosion of unmoderated alternative social media platforms, serving as vectors for misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Whether it be Truth Social, where there were 150 cases of threats of violence around the Trump cases, or Getter, where President Bolsonaro organized his coup, or Telegram, where white supremacists were found to be organizing violent attacks. This problem has gotten so bad, NATO has named it one of the #1 threats facing humanity. It is costing the global economy $78 billion every single year. Our beachhead market, county clerks, are dealing with death threats, doxing, and dis, and malinformation around elections. That's why we started Materion. Hello, everyone. My name is Zeke Chavez, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Materion. Materion is an online B2G platform that leverages large language models to detect misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and threats before they get serious. The way our product works is we pull in data from alternative social media sources, social media and the news. We then run that data through our natural language processing model, summarizing it into emerging narratives, running risk analysis, sentiment analysis, and threat analysis. If a staff member is mentioned in one of these dark channels, we send them an immediate text alert so they can take security precautions. Otherwise, the rest of the data is delivered into a bi-weekly narrative report. Here's the narrative we detected right here in New Mexico around illegal immigrants supposedly voting in our elections, and our real-time narrative dashboard. But this is just the beginning. We can fine-tune our models to detect the credibility of sources, to detect if foreign governments are performing disinformation attacks against our elections, and detect AI-generated content. This gives county election teams the ability to spot these threats early, so they can come up with counter-narrative strategies and safeguard staff and the integrity of our elections. In terms of traction, we already have 3 paid pilots in motion, generating $31,000 of revenue to date. Upon full deployment, this is $70,000 of annual recurring revenue. And here's the craziest part. This is all transpired in only weeks of outbound. For those that sell to government, that is insanely fast. That is what we call market pull. And the way our model works is that we have a pilot program and then a full deployment contract based on population size. But this is just for our beachhead market. We can take this technology and apply it to other levels of government, state, federal, and the private sector, enterprise, NGOs, medical groups, and news organizations, giving us 2 million potential customers worldwide. With an annual contract value average of $30,000, that's an over $37 billion market opportunity, putting us beneath the $88 billion trust and safety market. And because of the way we're building out our product, by going by locality, we have our self-built-in moat. We will have 1.5 million data sources at scale, enabling us to train our own proprietary model. And the team that we put together to go after this problem is top-notch. Myself and my co-founder, Rafael Tejeda, are second-time funded AI startup founders. We've been building together for years. I have countless years of experience in campaigns and government, and my co-founder scraped all of Amazon at one point. He knows how to get to hard to get to data. Backed by Techstars with providers in product, artificial intelligence, and the news. I grew up in politics. I come from generations of civil servants. This problem is personal to me. I know the damage that disinformation, and malinformation can cause. And our team will not stand idly by as misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation destroy brands and reputations, impact our communities, and threaten our democracy. Thank you.
The model that you're training, are you thinking of using like the likes of OpenAI and using API, or are you training your own model? And how do you kind of decide between the two?
Yeah, and so in my last startup, we actually trained computer vision models, ML. We're familiar with the technology, and so our approach is we've been using a combination of off-the-shelf models, but we do plan on fine-tuning our own model. There's a lot of different types of data that goes into misinformation, disinformation, and what have you, imagery, share rate, and all of that. So we're gonna have to customize our own, but for now, we can use a lot of off-the-shelf to get this going. We wanted to prove out the model before we build the Cadillac, make sure we can get to pay for the skate.
Can you tell us who would be your closest competitors and how to protect against that?
Yeah, the closest competitors, this is a really hot space. There's been about $200 million of venture dollars put into it. Folks are attacking it from different angles. Federal, military, enterprise, they are victims of disinformation attacks. For us, our 2 main ways that we're able to have our own moat is we're focusing on local and county governments, which is low-hanging fruit. Also, by virtue of us going down that route, we build actually a richer pool of data because we're going to be able to go county by county. That means we'll have a larger pool of data to work with at scale. So if someone wants to come in and compete with us, they're going to have to do the same thing over again.
What makes your technology better than your competition?
It's a combination of the approach and the source of the data. A lot of the companies out there are focusing on mainstream social media platforms. The problem is that I'm not sure if anyone here has heard of Getter or Gabber. There's all kinds of names out there, and it's hard to get to data. So it's really the question of the sources of it and also how we mess with our models. But the source of data is really the important part. You have to be able to see it. So that's the main difference.
Great presentation and super nice job getting a government contract on that quickly. But more to go back to one of the questions about your competitors, there are big, well-funded government contractors out there like Palantir. So how are you differentiating? Is it simply you're focusing on local and community And how are you identifying your data sources? Because new sources are gonna pop up all the time, right?
So, and Palantir, to my knowledge, really doesn't focus on disinformation. They're a lot more on computer vision technology, but the ones that I am aware of, there's I'll take your word for it. You know, way that we're going about it is just focusing on county by county, and that's how we can get richer sources of data. One of the researchers that we have involved in the organization was one of the early folks that spotted the January 6th attack when they were working for Facebook. So we have to actually have a researcher on board identifying these sources piece by piece. We're gonna build a massive database of that.
How do you consider what's considered misinformation? Like someone who supports a certain side may view that differently.
And for clarification, we're nonpartisan. This is a problem that's bipartisan. But to answer your question, right now, the main focus is actually identifying that's even happening. It's actually quite easy to spot misinformation. Where it gets a little more interesting is disinformation. Disinformation is when a foreign government is doing this stuff, and you can detect that in the patterns of how bots are sharing things on different social media platforms. So that's the way to do that. Malinformation is also a question of credibility. Someone is intentionally spreading wrong information or malinformation. So it's a question of the source. So misinformation, identifying it, disinformation is the patterns in share rate and then where it's coming from, and then malinformation is the credibility of that source.
That's all the time we have for questions. Great job, Z. Thank you for sharing with us. Next, we have Afterlife, ready to present their vision for the future of the dead tech space. So let's bring Sarah and Lisa up to the stage with a big round of applause.
Hello. Thanks for having us. I'm Sarah Keats. I'm founder and chief creative officer of Afterlife. My background is in advertising. I have a decade of experience in advertising and creative strategy. And I had this idea kicking around for a few years, but it really started taking shape when I met Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Ramundi. I'm the CEO of Arrowhead. I have a multidisciplinary background ranging from finance to strategy consulting to most recently product management for Fortune 100 companies and startups. We also have two other team members who couldn't be with us today, but we'll introduce them anyway. Jess is our CEO. She has deep experience in operations and product management. And Dave is our CTO. He has 30 years of experience leading tech teams.
So we're all going to die, but we don't have our affairs in order. Currently, the death planning industry doesn't serve users. It's confusing, it's rigid, it's outdated, it's inaccessible. So much so that 2/3 of American adults do not even have a will. But we're seeing signs of change. Younger generations are presenting more of a desire to take control over things like estate planning, but there's currently no viable digital solution for younger users.
Afterlife is the solution. Everyone's going to die, so everyone needs a plan. We're building the first central hub for every last thing.
Afterlife is a death planning platform where any living person can define, personalize, and safekeep all of their posthumous wishes in one place. This includes things like what will happen to your body, making an estate plan, planning your eventual funeral, learning about service providers, learning about the changing death care industry, and most importantly, keeping it all up to date as our lives continually change.
Here are a few screens from our MVP application, which is currently in development. As Sarah mentioned, there's two components to the app. The component where you actually create your plan, and we call this a death manual, and it's broken into three buckets: my body, my stuff, and my service. In addition to creating your plan, we will have a platform unique in the industry that will allow our users to discover products and services as they create their plan, to plan for their funeral costs, and also to keep any passwords they have in one place so that their executor has access to everything they need should they pass. Death planning is a very large market. Everybody needs a death plan, so we estimate based on assuming a net worth of over $100,000, adults in the US all need a death plan, $77 billion market, very large market.
We are specifically focused on the demographic age 25 to 44. If we assume a modest capture rate of 7.5% and an average cost of the bill is $500, which is actually relatively low, we're looking at a $1.6 billion market.
We do not deny that this is a competitive space. There are plenty of ways to make a will online. However, nobody's doing it. When you look across these competitors, there's no comprehensive one-stop shop. There's no central hub. There's no experience-driven, brand-focused, digital-first option for consumers. And there's no option that bridges discovery with decision-making. All of these things are what we're aiming to do with Afterlife.
We believe that the path to capturing this market that we're targeting is first, interestingly, to reach the hearts and minds of Gen Z, which we know based on research that we conducted through a research firm doing social listening, that Gen Z users are 2.3 times more likely to be talking about death online. That is a huge shift in the way that society approaches and navigates death. Once we've attracted the attention of this trend-setting demographic, millennials will follow and convert as they are the ones with most immediate need, having children, acquiring houses, getting married, things like that. And then as millennials' parents age and die, where will they turn to manage those affairs? They will turn to Afterlife.
For monetization, we're not reinventing the pricing wheel here. A tiered subscription model gives different users of different needs and different life complexities, something that's right for them, everything from just considering their death plan all the way up to actually creating estate plans, trusts, that kind of thing. And also, like many other subscription models, that free version gets younger users onto the platform, a foot in the door into our ecosystem so that they turn to Afterlife as their lives inevitably become more complex and change over time.
So based on this pricing model and a modest conversion rate of 1.5% by year 3, we're projecting to hit 1 million ARR in year 2 and 65 million in year 5. Today, we've bootstrapped all of our efforts, but we're looking to seed around $1.5 million to finish our minimum marketable product and that be first mover in this space.
You never know when you will go, so you might as well get your affairs in order exactly how you want them while you still can. We hope we've inspired you to imagine a world where death is unburdened by the logistics. Thank you very much. Yeah, repeat.
So very interesting, the age bracket that you're targeting makes a lot of sense. Get married, oh, you need a will. How, what about a single person? Single person signs up, gets her affairs in order, gets hit by a bus. How does the rest of the world learn that they put this death plan in place?
Theoretically, they should identify an executor as they're establishing their will, and then that would be shared with that person. Also, a referral strategy there too.
Do you do a referral strategy to attorneys and other end-of-life planning services that?
Yeah, there's a lot of monetization opportunities on the platform side and on the partnership side. Everyone from attorneys, which we would be working with attorneys internally with the white glove, but more so financial advisors. Life insurance is a really big play in the space. Things like that.
Okay. And last, how did you come up with your pricing model? Was that $300 a year?
Yes.
Or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The pricing model, as Sarah mentioned, is we're not reinventing the wheel. We sort of looked at the competitive space and thought, okay, what could we realistically charge for this, given the differentiation?
Wondering what would keep a person coming back for $300 every year? At what stage you see them converting to that level of service?
Yeah, $300 a year is going to be your more complex kind of person. And so the bet on them coming back every year is that things change essentially, and that they will need to come back and update their will. Like as an example,
Oh, yeah, so for example, somebody, might have children, but they haven't updated their will.
many people.
Since, the second child was born. Marketing, emails and reminders to people in our ecosystem say, hey, your life has changed, it's time to update all of your death plans on the platform, and that keeps them coming back. Something like a basic or a premium subscription is affordable if you break it down by month. And then all of the reminders once you're in the ecosystem that your life has changed and you do have more assets, or you got divorced, or you sold a business, or you bought another home, that kind of thing.
we're able to remind people that they need to get those affairs up to date.
The one other thing I'll add is the pricing model would change based on research and user behavior.
And this is a fintech product directly to consumer, similar to LegalZoom, which I used a lot. So I was wondering, what's your go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, the go-to-market strategy is really around the marketing strategy that we presented, which is, so performance marketing is something that we would need a lot of money for in this space, but what we also know is that because this topic is so interesting and sort of top of mind and culturally changing right now, there's a lot of opportunity to get earned media, aka like free publicity. But the go-to-market is go for Gen Z first, millennials follow, they love to follow Gen Z trends, convert the millennial, and then get the brand.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Sarah and Lisa. Great work. All right, next we have circular genomics ready to showcase how they're bringing precision medicine to mental health. So please welcome Nicholas to the stage.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks to organizers for the invite. So I am Nicholas Melius. I'm Nicholas Melius. I'm the Chief Scientific Officer, the co-founder of Circular Genomics. We are the first company to harness the power of brain-derived circular RNA biomarkers that can allow us for the first time to bring precision medicine into the treatment of psychiatric and neurological disorders. So as of course you are aware, the prevalence of major depressive disorder has been steadily climbing during the last few decades, and as a result of the COVID-19 crisis, we're now facing a public health emergency. The latest statistics are that above 25% of US adult population have faced with depression in their lifetime. And this is a very devastating disorder. And despite all the various different drugs that have been approved for the treatment of depression, is still a trial and error when it comes to choosing which drug to prescribe every time. So for example, physicians would usually prescribe SSRI, antidepressants as a first line of treatment. And as you might have heard, they only work at 40 to 50% of the patients. As a result of this trial and error routine, we have more than a year of waiting time for patients with this devastating disorder to receive the proper care. So right now in the market, the only thing that exists are DNA-based assays called pharmacogenomics that can predict the metabolism of drugs in your liver. So they can tell if you can metabolize drugs, which is potentially useful for side effects and dosing. But unfortunately, these assays cannot predict the response of a drug treatment for an individual. And both the FDA twice and the American Psychiatric Association have stated that these assays lack clinical utility and efficacy, and they have warned the public against their use. So there is an urgent, significant unmet need to actually have biomarkers and precision tools that can guide the treatment for depression. And this is where circular RNAs come. And circular RNAs are endogenous, closed-loop, circularized RNA molecules that are very highly expressed inside human brains. And not only are they brain-enriched, but they're very sensitive to changes in neuronal function, very specific to different receptors in our brains being activated. And unlike a lot of the other linear mRNA molecules and protein molecules, they can cross the blood-brain barrier. And that's a very important component that allows us to have a molecular window into the brain. And due to their heightened stability, being circular, they're protected from degradation from all these enzymes in the blood. They actually have a very high half-life, very stable and readily detectable in the blood with various techniques. So for the first time, we have this reliable biomarker that is associated with brain function. And we're actually excited to announce here for the first time when we're launching our first assay later this month. It's called MindLife. And not only is the first circular-based assay, but the first ever assay to directly predict response to SSRI antidepressants. So we've done a large number of clinical studies in independent cohorts and numerous US and European hospitals, and we have noticed in all this clinical data that our assay can reproducibly and accurately predict response close to 80% before treatment for SSRI antidepressants. So comparing to the current standard of care, which is at best 50-50, we can really revolutionize the way precision treatment is done for psychiatry in general. And we're going to give you some more information about our initial launch that's coming up on September 16th. And we're initially launching in direct primary care physicians and concierge doctors. 80% of antidepressant prescriptions are done by primary care physicians, and concierge primary care doctors are those that are very interested and excited to adopt new technologies for precision medicine. Initially, it will be a direct pay model for 99 price initially, but we are working on the clinical utility and economic studies to actually expand with third-party reimbursement. And in addition to SSRIs, we're expanding our platform to multiple different classes of antidepressants, second, third line of treatments, even going to TMS, ketamine. And lastly, we have very exciting data from Alzheimer's, where our assay is able to not only diagnose if someone has Alzheimer's disease, but importantly, to predict in a healthy individual that they're going to get Alzheimer's within 5 to 6 years with an accuracy upwards of 95%, which is unparalleled in the field. And again, this is our economic projections. It's a very big market. So we're counting, of course, for inflection points for both the expansion of the platform, but also the third-party reimbursement. And trying to be mindful of the time, I'm going to finish with our team. I will just highlight our CEO, Vice President Dr. Paul Sargent, with 25 years of experience in life sciences. He wasn't able to be here due to caring for his father, but we have highly trained executive team, including our co-founder, Cosmas Karatimitriou, which is a lead expert in AI and machine learning. So thank you very much, and excited to hear your questions.
Thank you for raising something as a non-technical question. I was just wondering, it seems like the problem you were trying to solve could be done by a doctor, like a psychologist. So how are you trying to compete with a human doctor?
Not at all. Actually, in all the studies where even psychiatrists, psychologists, or primary care physicians, when they're trying to say, I will choose the proper treatment, it works less than 50%. So in our case, we're going for 80% prediction of response. And actually, all these psychiatrists, physicians, they're our clients. They're the ones that demand, and they're frustrated by the fact that I'm going to just randomly choose the first treatment, wait for a few months, choose the other treatment. So these are actually our clients. Our competitors are these large DNA pharmacogenomics companies, $150 million revenue last year for Myriad, 2 FDA warnings, lawsuits, APA is not working, but there's a significant unmet need, so patients are desperate to get any kind of precision information.
So the payer strategy totally makes sense to me. I'm curious about the provider strategy. It's incredibly hard to get into provider systems, selling them. So how do you make your money, and how are you incentivizing clinicians to want to adopt and utilize?
That's a very good question. I think this is in the end some of the barriers for us as we are launching right now, in addition to having, of course, the proper marketing, sales, and team. And we have key opinion leaders that are top psychiatrists in the US on antidepressant response. And we are trying to participate through conferences and creating different messaging from the KOLs to incentivize. But in the last conference that we attended for direct primary care, we actually saw this enthusiasm for direct primary care and concierge physicians that finally, at least, there could be an option for them to examine for prescription of antidepressants.
Thank you for your presentation. 2 questions. First one is, circular RNA was originally thought to be an aberrant or outlier RNA. After more careful study, they know it's different and whatnot, expressed in the brain primarily, but some circular RNA literature reviews have cast doubt on a lot of the published literature because a lot of them are applying treatments that are normally used for mRNA, right, to develop the circuit. So speak a little bit about that's different from what you're doing.
Yeah, I think you are referring correctly to another growing market, which is circRNA therapeutics. And this is where was the scandal. So circRNA therapeutics, they take advantage of one of the traits that we take advantage. circRNAs are so stable, they don't break down it. So they made synthetic, artificial circular RNAs, and they raised hundreds of millions of dollars. One of them, there was probably some of the clinical studies. So this is totally different from what we're doing. We're the only company that measure endogenous circular RNAs to provide a window into the brain.
By all means, good point. So you talked about going to these specific concierge programs and whatnot, but you're still going to have to build out an entire sales team, right? I'm very familiar with that stuff. And it's very expensive.
Correct.
And one of the challenges you get is you won't get $4.99.
Okay, yeah.
So, do you feel that you're still gonna have a healthy enough margin?
Mhm.
You're not gonna get the $4.99 when it's paid out of pocket. You certainly won't get it by the time you get to reimbursement.
A very good question and a significant concern for us. So we are lucky in a way that our costs are very low. So our costs are below $150 total, including everything in shipping. So even with a discounted price that might be necessary in the beginning, we will still be very profitable.
Wonderful. Let's hear it from Nicholas. All right, moving along, let's bring up our next company, Photon Vault, to share the latest innovations. Please join me in welcoming John to the stage.
Thanks very much. I'm John Langus, I'm Chief Commercial Officer and co-founder of Photon Vault. We're a thermal energy storage company, so we store energy as heat and we dispatch it as electricity. Before Photon Vault, I was a solar energy developer. I helped deploy over 250 megawatts of solar projects around the country. We've made solar the cheapest form of energy in the history of the world. We have a new problem. Cheap wind and solar are great, but in markets that have a lot of wind and solar, we're seeing increasing volatility when the wind stops blowing and the sun stops shining. The Department of Energy has identified this problem and said that we need to reduce the cost of long duration energy storage, 10 hours or more, by 90% by 2031, down to only 5 cents per kilowatt hour. Well, we expect to hit that 5-cent mark on our 10th system. Our breakthrough is to develop energy storage that's low capital cost, but with very high efficiency. Traditionally, those are a trade-off. If you want high efficiency like a battery, it's very expensive. If you want a lower cost alternative, that will have low efficiency. Not anymore. Our magic is in our hybrid charging process. We charge our system in 2 independent phases. We bring in electricity to make ice in a refrigeration cycle. Then separately, we take in direct heat between 100 and 500 degrees C to heat our bricks. By taking both heat and electricity to charge our system, we can take the lowest cost elements of both of those approaches and keep our capital costs very low. But our total energy pool that we get by doing that is large enough that we can make as much or more electricity at the back end as we brought it in the front end. So the overall efficiency is low for all thermal storage, but the electric to electric efficiency is higher than all of our competitors. So what does that mean for a consumer? Well, solar can give you about 8 hours of power a day. No one can give you affordable energy storage for the other 16 hours, except for Photon Vault. We're developing the industry's first 24/7 power purchase agreement with a retail contract price of only 10 cents per kilowatt hour, moving towards that 5-cent mark after our 10 system. Our business model is B2B sales. I spent 10 years developing solar projects, 200 of them deploying over $500 million in capital. Using that project development experience, we will build projects, we will sell them to qualified buyers, and then we will operate those for the buyers to generate recurring revenue. But by selling the project, we generate most of our revenue upfront at project completion. Our customer pipeline is based on in-depth customer conversations with utilities, solar developers, green hydrogen developers, and industrial asset owners. Each of those verticals represents over $1 billion in medium-term potential revenue to Photon Vault. I'm proud to be part of this story, but it's really not my story. We're led by Dr. Kent McCormick, who's a PhD physicist from UC Berkeley. He invented our technology, he holds our 3 issued US patents, and he developed our business model. Kent and I grew up together in Oklahoma City. He spent his summers, I spent mine like being a lifeguard. He spent his summers working in his parents' mechanical contracting business, basically as a junior engineer. He was building first-generation energy storage systems as a high school student in the 1980s. That experience feeds through into the design choices he made in the Photon Vault today. We've assembled a team of 9 very talented people, experienced in renewable project development, manufacturing, engineering, new product development, finance, and law. We bootstrapped the initial R&D through our patent phase. Then I joined Kent and we launched commercially. Very quickly after that, we joined the New Mexico NM Surge cohort and launched our seed round. Our successful seed round was used for third-party validation studies, 12 detailed engineering projects that we managed leading engineering firms for, and we built our prototype. An integrated, at-scale, 10 kilowatt working prototype that validates our technology and our design. Next step is to build a 200 kilowatt, 10-hour duration system here in New Mexico on the campus of New Mexico State University, partnered with Sandia, El Paso Electric, and EPRI. We're fundraising for that right now, $10 million round. It's our first prize round. We're looking for a lead investor, and we're super excited to be here to talk about it. Thanks very much.
So how much better is your technology against the other alternatives? And also, you're specifically focusing on solar and wind, that problem there that you said from the DOE. So
the intermittency, that's correct. So the biggest thing you need storage for is to make up those hours that the cheap renewables can't fill, right? So we're way cheaper than batteries. We're cheaper than any of the alternative long duration storage technologies that are in development. No one's getting close to that 5 cent mark that the DOE is set as their goal. We think we'll get there by our 10th system. But beyond the cost, right? When you think about batteries have other problems. They have fire risk. They use toxic and hazardous materials. They have very complicated supply chains. Our supply chain is steel, sand, graphite, polycarbonate, and purchased machinery. Everything in our system with a moving part, we didn't invent. We just buy those things off the shelf. But a very simple supply chain that has no political risk and no supply risk. We could do our 2050 build out with the existing supply chains that exist.
Two questions. So for this next system that you're building up, what are the key things to prove? How does that de-risk the next scale?
So because of that fact that we don't have any moving parts that are brand new, we don't really have technical risk. We have execution. So we need to build this project in the budget that we've set for it, in roughly the time scale that we've set for it. We need to establish really good relationships with for procurement, all our materials and all our machinery. So we need to get those in a place where we can really start to scale up commercially. So it's an execution challenge. And once we've shown that, we will be fully commercial.
And you mentioned you had 3 patents on this. Could you tell us more?
Yeah, our bricks are patented, our ice tanks are patented, and that idea of bringing electricity and heat together to charge a system, that is also unique, that is patented. And we have a pending patent on our solar thermal collector. Actually, the important part is the glass tube. We didn't do that, we buy that. But we designed an enclosure for it that's kind of spiffy, and that's got a patent pending.
Can you explain the B2B business model more about your customer? Like, do they even pay you before you start construction? Kind of guarantee you a certain?
Once we've proven our model, once we've proven our technology, that's exactly correct. So you can start getting construction finance at a very cheap rate if you're doing something like battery that everybody knows. We won't be able to do that for a little while, but once we're established, we'll do construction finance during the construction period, and then we get all the money once we've commissioned, right? We sell it all right there. So
And who would be your customers?
our customers would be traditional owners of infrastructure assets. So the folks that I was selling solar projects to for 10 years. So they could be banks, they could be real estate investors, sometimes like to own those. They could be utilities though, responding to RFPs where they want those assets. Folks that like to own these things. And then as soon as we can, we'd like to be able to own them on balance sheet as well, just because some customers, that'll be a good model.
And that's, well, am I allowed to give Beto more time? Where's Carlos? Am I gonna get tackled?
I mean, you didn't get a question.
Explain the ice part.
Iceberg. With a thermal storage system, you get more efficiency the hotter you get. We like to be in easy temperature range between 100 C and 500 C. So in order to get that additional efficiency, we don't want to raise the temperature because it's harder to work with, it's more expensive, all those sort of things. So we drop the floor. By using ice, we can get a bigger change in temperature, delta T we call it, at a way cheaper way to do it. Thank you all.
Thank you, John. All right, next we have Grid Flow, ready to showcase their innovation in lithium sulfur flow batteries. So let's welcome Charles to the stage.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. Let me start by saying the single best approach to dealing with climate change is electrification. We're all familiar with that. We have EVs, cars and trucks are doing great and they're moving and filling up the roads. And I think planes, trains, and semis, all those things are in development, coming along. And so but we have a problem, and that is that there's a growing demand for electricity, and the grid isn't really growing with it. We're because of the electrification, because of data center growth and general economic growth, we're running into a problem with the grid and creating a situation where we have a very unstable and really a grid that isn't capable of handling the load that we need. So my name is Chuck Call. I'm going to tell you how we're going to solve this problem at Grid Flow. I have a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering, doctorate in mechanical engineering from UC Davis, 25 years of startup experience. And I'm flanked by a couple of really talented individuals. Blake Ridgway has worked at P&M Resources, our local regional utility here in New Mexico, for 15 years in management positions and background in finance and operations. And Jeff Aiken is a very talented mechanical engineer with background in product and project management. And he has experience actually prototyping and testing advanced batteries. So the solution is right here. The solution to how we're going to solve the grid stability problem is to put a battery in every garage. You can see from the comparison chart here, we have some very disruptive technology. It's the world's first long duration energy storage battery for the home market. It'll give you 5 days of power instead of say 5 hours of power at really the same price point that you can get from a Tesla Powerwall. So it's going to be about 10x more cost effective. It's more scalable and it's inherently safe. How do we do all that? We're working with some Sandia technology. Dr. Leo Small and his team at Sandia National Laboratories have developed a very clever chemistry that makes the cell part of it, the battery cell part, very simple. And so their advanced chemistry is a chemically mediated lithium sulfur hybrid flow battery. That's a mouthful. Don't worry about all that. All you need to know is the team there at Sandia has developed something that's incredibly innovative, and it makes the battery part of it, the cell, the electrochemical cell, very simple. And you can actually buy the parts for the cell on Amazon. That's how simple it is. So we don't need to invent new materials and learn how to scale those new materials in order to bring this battery to market. So that's a huge advantage. One of the things we've been collaborating with them now for several months. We're actually a pre-seed stage startup, just formed the company a few months ago. Sandia's been working on this technology for about 4 years. You can see in the upper left corner, the way they were bringing the flow in was damaging the graphite layer in the battery cell. And so we helped them actually with this little cell here. This is a kind of a demo cell. But it's actually all the same parts, except for we don't have stainless steel plates on the end. But this cell has allowed us to visualize the flow using water and food coloring to actually optimize the flow so that we can design the system so that we don't run into these material, basically we had a mechanical problem with degradation of the membrane. And we've been able to fix that, and then we're now running cells, or Sandia is running cells over at the laboratory that we think are gonna get us up into the thousands of cycles. So we're very, very excited about that and making good progress. I think we all understand the need. We just heard from the previous presentation as well. We need long duration energy storage, and we need, and there's a huge opportunity. There's here in the US alone, but globally, here in the US, there's 80 million homes that are detached homes. They have a roof and a garage and an opportunity to put a battery in there. That's a huge market. It's a $1 trillion segment. Ultimately, we can bundle these things together and go after microgrids and communities and grid scale deployments. But I think the way this is really going to grow out is it's easy to put a battery in a garage, especially if you have a cost-effective, long-duration value proposition. And that's going to go quicker than trying to do grid scale projects. Roadmap is have a product by this, a prototype by this fall and a finished product by summer. And let me jump to the last slide. This is our vision for the product, and this is how we're going to stabilize the grid. Put a battery in every garage. Thank you.
What is your plan to get your first customer?
So we are in discussions on a couple of fronts right now. We have hired an advisory, built an advisory board, and one of those members, Scott Lopez, is very connected into the tribal community. And there are grants coming down from the DOE to improve infrastructure in the tribal community. And so we're going to be putting in place some agreements, some MOUs. We're working on them now to identify early adopters in the tribal community. We're also in discussions with P&M, and they have a battery test bed facility that they're putting together. And we're in discussions to try to put an MOU in place to be part of that demonstration pilot program.
And what are your plans in terms of the team?
Right now, we're trying to raise essentially some pre-seed funding on a safe note, $300,000 to $500,000, keep the team lean, demonstrate. We're going to get the technical talent we need. I have a couple of interns that are graduates of CNM's Internet of Things program, very good technicians, very talented people. They're helping me with building cells, and we're just keeping the team really lean until we get the demo and our seed round closed. And then, of course, we need to build out the engineering team, electrical engineers as well as mechanical engineers to start working on scalability of the product and regulatory testing as well.
Can you walk us through the major milestones and tech supports between now and then having product that could actually be deployed?
Absolutely. So first step is to demo a cell stack. Well, what the work going on right now, it's already funded by the Trigger program, a state grant from New Mexico, is going on at Sandia to demonstrate the cyclability. That's milestone number one. That should happen here in the next 30 to 45 days. By this winter, I want to have a 50-volt stack assembled in our new facility. We want a second state grant to build out a laboratory to prototype batteries and to test batteries. That's under construction right now. We're putting that together. We want to build a stack, about a 50-volt, 50-watt stack by the end of the year. And by next summer, we want to have a 1 kilowatt module that's demonstratable in the field by next summer. So those are our key milestones. Then we're going to focus on regulatory, manufacturability, and go to market.
Thanks, Chuck. Tell us a little bit about the IP and if all that is locked down. Is there native IP or a mix of native and licensed?
Today, because we're brand new, it's licensed IP from Sandia. They have a pending patent. It's very novel technology. Nobody's doing lithium flow batteries, right? There's nobody in this space. It's a very clever and novel approach that they've taken. They've filed all the patents and we've got license to them. Now, as we develop from science projects to products, there's going to be a whole host of patent opportunities. I personally have an inventor on over 50 issued US patents. We'll find lots of opportunities to patent things as we go along.
That's time for questions. Thank you, Chuck. Next, we have Neurogenesis, ready to showcase their approach to transforming brain wellness. So please, a round of applause as Karen comes to the stage.
Thank you. My name is Karen Crow, co-founder and CEO of Neurogenesis. And I started the company because my mom had Alzheimer's, my son had a sleep disorder. And by researching both, I discovered that sleep was the window into the brain. So there are a ton of preventative screening tests that you can do for all parts of your body. But the number one concern for adults over the age of 50 is that their bodies are going to outlive their brains. And there are no tests available today to tell you what your brain health is going to be. Currently, there are many technologies that are in the brain health area, but all of them have a very specialized, narrow aspect to them. In order to really understand cognitive prognosis function in the future, you have to look at your functional brain health, how your neuronal circuitry is working today. And so that's giving you the most early, there's no early comprehensive way of looking at functional brain health today. So we developed NeuroInsight. It's our patented ML model that looks at sleep neurophysiology to develop and give you a functional brain age. We've also developed it to be an FDA exempt clinician decision support tool. So how does it work? Your doctor will give you an order for the NeuroInsight. You go online, you submit the order to us and pay us directly. We ship the headband to you and you wear it for 4 nights. You then ship it back to us. We pull out all the EEG data from it. We look at 400 neurobiomarkers and we map them against a normative database of 18 to 88-year-old healthy people. And we find the age that most closely resembles your normal profile. And that's your functional brain age. We then generate the report, send it to the doctor, and the doctor has a consult with you. So for instance, for a 60-year-old man, we can tell the doctor that that person is at the 27th percentile of healthy 60-year-old men, or they have a functional brain age of a 70-year-old. So it gives the doctor a warning that something's going on. We also identify the key modifiable behaviors and conditions that are most relevant to that person so that the doctor and that patient can develop a brain care plan. And that would have been really helpful for my mom. We estimate that the brain health assessment market is about an $80 billion TAM. When you look at people who do routine wellness checkups, who have a family history, can pay out of pocket, the sum is about $6 billion. We're going to focus on concierge medicine because of their focus on preventative medicine and also the out-of-pocket payment. And so we've already signed up 25 physicians in key geographic hubs so that we can get sales economies on the direct sales model. We also have established relationships with 4 out of 6 of the top concierge networks that will help us augment our direct sales team. We've talked a little bit about how the process works, but the big takeaways are that it's a direct pay to Neurogenesis. The physician has a revenue stream by doing these consults, so they have a financial benefit. They're recurring revenues because we want to track this year after year and notice any changes in a person's brain health. And because they ship the device back to us, we reuse the expensive electronics, it lowers our COGS, and we improve our margins. We have a seasoned team. All of us had long careers at top companies before Neurogenesis, but all of us have also had family members with Alzheimer's or dementia, so this is personal for us. We have 2 granted patents and 3 pending patents. We have, most of our funding is all from non-dilutive grants. We have grants from NSF, NIH, DOD, and we only have 2 outside investors, which are Esther Dyson and Techstars. We have great world-renowned partnerships that are helping us all of our research and conducting our trials. We plan to launch third quarter next year and generate revenues, we have to do three things. Even though we have 25 positions already on board, and that's growing, we have three things to do. One is we have to productize our neuroinsight report. We have to get our safety certification and complete that. And then we have to have our build out and validate our operational infrastructure and platform. Now, there's no genesis.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions, starting with, what is the cost?
The direct pay to neurogenesis would be $700.
For the 4 nights, even though they return the device.
Yeah, we benchmark it against the Grail cancer screening test, which is a $1,200 test. So we're at a great discount from that.
Right, and you've mentioned you have study partners to validate the outcomes to justify that level of pricing. And I want to ask you a specific question about MGH.
I'm sorry, your question is?
The outcomes of the clinical studies you've done with the
Yeah.
partners that you listed, Miami, MGH.
Right, so our outcome studies are, let me talk a little bit about how the AI model works so that it gives you a little context. So for a healthy person, their biological age or their chronological age should equal the brain age. So in all of our trials, we've used them on healthy people. We've launched that with UNM, with UCSF. We have one teed up with Mass General, which would be cognitively unhealthy MCI and Alzheimer's. For the cognitively healthy people, we have a mean error of 3.7 years. So we have a brain age plus or minus 3.7. We've also validated it by doing longitudinal studies. So we have people who've been using it, and we've used sleep recordings from people with gaps of 3 to 11 years. We've been able to validate that as well as cross-sectional data. So in addition to cognitively healthy people, we've had people with other neurodegenerative diseases and everything to show the elevated brain age.
I promise to go to the mic in a second, but you also mentioned in the report some of the behavioral lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
And MGH has published a validated score to assess one's brain health, where they are. And I'm wondering, is that part of your partnership with MGH? They just published the score, self-assessment from the New York Times yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yes. So we leverage that. So we're working with the MGM, their Alzheimer's Research Center. And so the idea is that we've done our own covariate analysis, and there are several. There's a very famous Finland study, the Fingers study. And so we've used a lot of those to help corroborate that, what are the behaviors and the health conditions that have the biggest impact. And then by having an assessment from the patient and the physician, we can figure out for that particular person, what is going to be the most important areas that they can focus on.
And from those, what kind of improvement could be potentially, so for the 60-year-old man with 70-year-old brain health, how much would that improve?
Yeah, so we haven't done that sort of longitudinal intervention and then measure it, but the covariate analysis suggests that even things like sleep apnea, that can have like a 2.2 years of impact on your cognitive longevity. Things like diabetes. So there are a lot of both behavioral aspects as well as addressing health conditions that do build up over time.
What's the subscription revenue? Explain more. Is there any subscription recurring revenue?
The recurring revenue is not a subscription, but the fact that the physician will want to have a test year after year to identify if there's any changes in your brain health. The same way you get your mammogram every year or whatever. You want to track it to see what the trends are, make sure there's no rate of change that are unexpected, and that you can detect things earlier. So that's the recurring revenue.
And that is time. Thank you again, Karen. Great work. All right, next we have Meals Guru, ready to showcase how they're bringing precision medicine to mental health. Let's welcome Mark to the stage. Please give him a round of applause.
Good luck.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark Niederhaus Esteban. I'm a military veteran and serial entrepreneur, and I'm also the co-founder of Meals Guru. We aim to financially empower our users by way of helping them with their household grocery budgets. Ultimately, we want them to save money, save time, and of course, eat well. So here's some startling data. 70% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now. 29% aren't able to even make their bills for the month. Now, historically, food has been the easiest lever to be able to address short-term budgetary needs. But as we've all noticed the last few years, inflation's been rampant, especially in food. That lever has been weakening. Hence, there's been drastic changes in food habits. 70% of households are eating out less, and 39% of households are skipping meals just to be able to afford their housing payments. Now, of course, it shouldn't be news to anybody as it's all over the news. We see an opportunity to do a lot of good for a lot of people. So for the grocery and meal plan app space, currently it's about a $500 million market, but by 2030, it's a $1.2 billion market. We also see our serviceable obtainable market being the upper lower income to middle income households being 48 million American households. This is our solution. We are Meals Guru. We're an easy to use all-in-one app that allows the users to receive meal plans based upon their own likes, dislikes, but most importantly, their individual grocery budget. So how does it work? So initially the user will put in their grocery budget for the week, as well as how many meals they'd like and how many servings of those meals. They'll also have the opportunity to put all their dietary preferences, and from that, they'll receive a meal plan customized to them using real-time grocery pricing data. When they're ready to move forward, they're able to maximize on savings by way of comparing with their local favorite grocery stores to see which one's the cheapest for the week. And then ultimately, they're able to push that cart preloaded to their favorite grocery store's app to be able to purchase one click. This is our ideal customer profile. This is Veronica. She's a millennial. She's a mother of 3, and she has the pain points of limited time to be able to plan out her meals, actually figure out her budget for the week, and as well as the pain point of having a budget. So we are admittedly pre-revenue, but we're very proud of the traction we do have. We have built out a technical proof of concept, and we've tested that with over 50 users. And we've also done over 150 customer discovery surveys, all supporting our thesis. We're also going to be, upon release of the app, revenue generating from day 1 using our freemium model. Our financials show by year 2, we're at a path towards profitability. And we're going to be double downing on an organic driven go-to-market strategy, highlighting our value proposition of saving money and time. And this, of course, will lower our CAC. As you can see here, here's some of the heavy hitters in the meal planning space with us. We are the only ones, we're proud to be the only ones that are truly addressing budgeting towards groceries. Now, we will be releasing out the first version of the app within the next few months. And as through the months progress, we're going to be rolling out more best-in-class features. Towards the tail end of the year, we recognize that we can capitalize on saving money and time towards more fintech features, as well as additional revenue sources in the fintech space. Our team is strong and capable. We have serial entrepreneurs, heavy technical prowess, as well as seasoned veterans in the SaaS and fintech world on our team. Again, we are Meals Guru. We are currently fundraising a pre-seed round of $1 million to help us accelerate our growth. And thank you so much for the time.
So, margins on grocery are 2%. Margins on deli is 18 to 20. Right? Margins are right and similar. You know, walk me through how someone saves given that. I mean, there are other, not necessarily for budget reasons, but walk me through how you actually help someone spend that. what's your vision for that, right? If they're spending $200 a month, are they gonna all of a sudden spend 100 and get the same nourishment? Give me some sense of it.
Of course. So, thank you for your question. First off, so as far as how the user can actually save, they get to individually dictate how much money they want to use for the week with the meals. So therefore, they are going to have that no more surprises at the grocery store. I'm sure many of us have gone and seen cheese is $5 now. And so no more of that, they're going to stay within it. And then secondarily on the saving aspect, they get to compare with all the major, their favorite grocery stores within their area to get the best bang for their buck. So although, let's say hypothetically, it's $150 for that family, maybe they have it at $135 at Walmart if they select that.
First of all, thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you for the support.
I'm curious about, how you're getting the pricing data across multiple grocers. And then what if the shopper has to go to multiple grocery stores to get the pricing to meet their budget? Can you just say a little bit more about how that works?
Of course. So the pricing data, we're using publicly available APIs to be able to source our pricing data. So that is real-time pricing data. You know, on the back end, we're making sure that we're refreshing enough that it is truly real-time. Now, as far as the user going to multiple stores, we see it from the saving time efficiency-wise of just selecting what is the cheapest store for the week by way of their total cart. However, they are able to add their own ingredients and price compare and do multiple purchases if they'd like to.
And are you targeting key geographies in addition to, Asian demographic group and any plans to go into food deserts or where?
Yeah, of course. So as far as geography is concerned, this app will be released nationwide. However, we're going to be doing our go-to-market strategy by way of social media influencers, whatnot, in areas where we see significant inequalities and, of course, high food costs. So places like California would be fantastic. As far as the food deserts, we are still working on how best to address that, as a lot of those areas have bodegas or mom and pop shops as opposed to the large major grocery retailers.
For your revenue model, do you expect to collect some revenue from these food or brands, or is it all only from subscriber and consumers?
So this is the exciting part about it. So we see a lot of opportunities for revenue here. One that we're going to be initially running through, of course, is the ad-supported revenue. However, there are one of the members of our team has been heavily in fintech and SaaS, and so we're leveraging her experiences to be able to build out other revenue streams, including affiliate type commissioning from the grocery stores.
That's time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are to our last presenter. We have Vera ready to showcase how they're revolutionizing post-harvest operations. Brian, welcome to the stage.
Thanks very much for having me here. Last one. All right, so I'm going to try and teach you as quickly as I can about a niche problem in cannabis cultivation. So Vera builds sensors and technologies for measuring the moisture in living plants. And we found a cool application where we could deploy our technology in drying and curing cannabis. 4 steps in cannabis cultivation: genetics, growing the plants themselves, and then drying and curing. And once you reach into step 2, that growing process, you're generally about at least 3 months into the life cycle of the plant. So the plants are super valuable. They harvest the plants, they cut them down, they hand them to the dry cure team, and they totally fumble it, potentially grow mold, and have suboptimal yields from the post-harvest process. So let me show you what this looks like, a dry and a mid-sized cultivation. It says 750 pounds of wet cannabis. Think like wet grass clippings, right? And your job is to not let it mold. If you've ever mowed a lawn, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's worth about $150,000, and this mid-sized cultivator does 50 of these harvests a year. If you under dry it, you could lose the whole crop. So what cultivators always do is they over dry because they don't have good data on the moisture of those plants. The safe thing to do is over dry. But due to suboptimal moisture, you could leave $1 million a year of revenue on the table for this size cultivator. So we developed an IoT and SaaS product to find the sweet spot every time, and it's called Grovera Zone. Take these little sensors, I've got one right here, and clip them around your drying room. You use at least 12 on a harvest. You take that data, push it straight to the cloud, do data analytics. We do proactive alerts, tell cultivators exactly what's going on in their drying spaces. All right, so how many people care about this? There's about 20,000 cultivators for cannabis in North America, also hemp, including hemp. About 12,000 of them are indoor cultivators that are continuously producing plant material and continuously drying it. And about half of them are big enough to care about our technology and are having scaling problems. The cannabis industry is also growing like gangbusters. Everybody knows that. I don't want to go into that too much. So we have a product launched in January 2024. We finished our product development validation. It works. We have customers. We have pilots ongoing with 3 multi-state operators. One of them is that's $1 billion a year in business. And we're planning our rollout phase with that customer right now. And we have early subscription revenue from smaller clients as well. So today we're focusing on building our customer pipeline and scaling this product. All right, I'm Brian. I've been doing technology for over 20 years. My background is in computer science and electrical engineering. My CTO, Jacob Thordal, he and I have been working together for almost 10 years, running an engineering services firm. Chandler Keenan is an experienced go-to-market specialist in the cannabis industry, actually selling technology to cultivators. So she understands this customer. And Joshua Edwards is a part-time advisor for us on financing and fundraising. People try and solve this problem in all kinds of weird and silly ways. One of them is manual inspection. They come in and they feel the plants. Does it feel right? I think it's about ready. It feels about right. That only scales so far. When you're thinking hundreds or thousands of pounds of plant material, you can't scale that. Some people go to Home Depot and buy a moisture meter for measuring lumber. Believe it or not, I can't imagine buying a $20 instrument to characterize hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of plants. They don't work. There's scientific instrumentation for measuring moisture in organic material. It works, it's just not scalable and it's super hard to use. And it takes forever to get a single sample. Grovera Zone checks all those boxes in a cool IoT and SaaS kind of way without introducing any extra overhead. All right, so we have this is sold as a SaaS subscription kind of model. I don't want my customers thinking about hardware. Hardware should be cheap up front, an ongoing subscription for the software. We split them up into small, medium, and large buckets, depending upon how many sensors they need for their operation. So it's $1,000, $2,000, and $3,000 right now. These are our growth projections based on our understanding of the market and capturing about 30% or so of, I'm gonna get this wrong, serviceable, obtainable market. All right, we've taken about 230K of friends and family safe notes. Otherwise, we're fully founder bootstrapped. We're raising $2 million to take this thing to market at scale, hire our foundational team. Everybody's super part-time right now. Implement predictive analytics and AI into the platform and start moving into the grow operation. There's a lot of opportunities for our technology in growing of any crops, any high value crop. 24 months, we're gonna get to 10 million ARR with this money. In the future, all kinds of cool sustainable ag work that we can do and a lot of neat stuff going on with reforestation and conservation. Questions?
Questions.
Okay.
First of all, are these off-the-shelf IoT?
Entirely custom made. Entirely custom made and engineered. We've solved manufacturing. We've produced 1,000 so far.
Using Bluetooth or?
We actually use a protocol called LoRaWAN, which is very popular in agriculture. Very long range and low power. The sensor battery lasts about a year. So people don't even think about sensors as my goal.
So your model is that essentially you're hiding the cost of the hardware by essentially.
That's correct.
So I want to end on a high note. Does this enhance the experience when you're having your readers?
Exactly. I knew somebody would have some kind of bad cannabis. Don't mark me down for that one, please. Yeah. Good.
Okay, so maybe outside of cannabis, you touched
Yeah.
very quickly at the end, how big do you think this could be in other industries?
It's-
Where could be bigger
yeah.
opportunities?
Any high value crop, controlled environment, ag, food, we actually sell a research device that all kinds of different customers can purchase, indoor vertical farming, big ag tech startups. So all kinds of cool stuff there. Reforestation is an interesting one, for growing baby trees to replant. There's a big effort across the country right now in that space too.
And the question there is they're optimizing the moisture levels.
But yeah, they want to know that they have healthy plants. They have healthy plants that are growing well. That's correct.
Any IP issues because temperature and humidity sensors.
Not that important, right? Moisture is the key secret sauce. And we do that with electrical impedance. We shoot signals into the plant and measure the response. People have been doing this kind of work for a long time. We just productize it really, really well for this application. But we do have a US patent pending for using this specifically in cannabis and hemp. Any further questions? Yes, part time.
I guess, how do you think this will go over in Silicon Valley? If you win, how would you modify your pitch?
I think they would be afraid of the hardware component. Because I think we've retired the risk on the hardware, right?
I mean, I have to say, like, the hardware to like generate the subscription model, that's nothing new.
Yeah.
But how you're making it make financial sense, you know, both for your customer and for you,
Yeah.
and emphasizing the other applications.
That's true. I can tell a broader story for sure. The business person in me stepped into the void of, hey, here's a very cool problem that nobody is addressing. But you're absolutely right. Thank you. Very good. Thank you again, Brian. Great job. And let's hear it again for all of our startups for their incredible presentation. All right, well, our judges will now take some time to deliberate and select the winner, who, again, to remind you, will be announced during the reception at the New Mexico Angels quarterly event immediately following this event. So we'll be announcing it shortly. The New Mexico Angels quarterly event will be taking place in the Manzano Sunrise Room as well as the atrium. So please join us immediately following this. Thank you again, everybody.